I'm talking on basal ganglia, a group of nuclei embedded in the white matter of the cerebrum on both sides. And objective of this lecture, certainly physiological anatomy, components, corpus striatum, connections, functional neuronal circuits, functions of basal ganglia, disorders of basal ganglia like Parkinson's disease, chorea athetosis, Huntington's disease or chorea, Wilson disease, and kernicterus. We're talking among the physiological anatomy components. Basal ganglia, group of nuclei, mass of gray matter in the forebrain and upper part of the brain stem that have motor functions of great importance. Head ganglia of motor control, 5 gray nuclear masses, they compose what is known as the basal ganglia. At the base of the cerebral hemisphere, caudate nucleus, putamen, globus pallidus, substantia nigra, subthalamic body of the lois, red nucleus. Well, caudate nucleus, putamen, and globus pallidus, they are known collectively as a corpus striatum. Corpus striatum, subcortical masses of gray matter situated in white core. Though you might have studied certainly this section of my lecture in your anatomy classes while discussing the neuroanatomy, but in order to have a linkage, I am giving it a humble revision. Subcortical masses of gray matter, caudate nucleus, lenticular nucleus, putamen, globus pallidus. You are looking here, the caudate nucleus, lentiform nucleus in this figure. Salient features of nuclei of the corpus striatum. Well, the figure is there. Caudate nucleus, highly curved, common-shaped band of gray matter, consists of a head, body, and tail, separated from lenticular nucleus by internal capsule. Lenticular nucleus, you are looking here, the section of the brain on both sides by convex lens, triangular in both coronal and horizontal sections, divided into 2 parts by external lamina of white matter. Putamen is very much important. Outer part of lenticular nucleus, dark in color. We're looking here, dark in color, quadrangular in shape, that's a putamen. Globus pallidus, inner small part, paler, divided into 2 parts. The figure is present in this slide. You can have got a vision by visualization of this figure. Internal inner small part, paler is the color, divided into 2 parts. The external segment and the internal segment. Subthalamic nucleus is also a part of this basal ganglia by convex masses of the gray matter lateral to the red nucleus and dorsal to substantia nigra, separated from thalamus by a zona incerta. Substantia nigra are very much important, made up of a small unpigmented and large pigmented nerve cells. Looking on the figure, contains neuromelanin divided into 2 parts. Pars compacta contains dopaminergic 75% and cholinergic 25% neurons. Pars reticularis contains GABAergic neurons, gamma aminobutyric acids. Connections, main input, corpus striatum, caudate nucleus and putamen. मेन आउटपुट ग्लोबस पैलिडस. इनपुट जो है वो सारे का सारा कॉर्पस स्ट्राइटम में आता है, कॉर्डेट न्यूक्लियस एंड पुटामेन में, और आउटपुट जाते हैं बाय द ग्लोबस पैलिडस. Afferent or inputs to striatum, corticostriate projections, glutaminergic, thalmostriate fiber from centromedian nuclei, nigrostriate fibers, pars compacta. These are the dopaminergic, because dopamine is the the neurotransmitter. Refi-striate fibers, refi-nucleus in reticular formation, serotonergic, locus ceruleus striate fibers, noradrenergic fibers. Projection from striatum to globus pallidus, GABAergic, inhibitory projections, striatum to substantia nigra to pars reticulata, GABAergic, inhibitory impulses. Efferents or outputs from globus pallidus, thalamus, thalamic fasciculus or ansa fascicularis to anterior, ventrolateral and centromedian nuclei to prefrontal and premotor cortex. Subthalamic nuclei to substantia nigra, red nucleus, rubrospinal tract pathway. Substantia nigra, 3 routes directly via subthalamic nucleus and via pedunculopontine nucleus. This is the efferents. You are looking here at the connections of the basal ganglia. You can see this all how the connections are made: cortex, then putamen, and then thalamus. And you are looking here also the neurotransmitters, basal ganglia circuitry in normal condition. This is the basal ganglia circuitry in normal conditions, and you should be very much clear that cortex, glutamate is a neurotransmitter, comes to the putamen, then putamen, dopamine, subthalamic nuclei, then glutamate is there, substantia nigra, indirect pathway, direct pathway, thalamus. So this is the figure which tells us what are the connections of the basal ganglia. Yes, now advancing towards its connections, then we come to the next point. Again, this is an explanation of cerebral cortex, striatum, substantia nigra, pars compacta, external pallidum, subthalamic nucleus, internal pallidum, thalamus. This is also the circuitry which you should very much keenly observe. Negative means the inhibition and positive means the excitation. This is all the interplay of the neurotransmitters. Cerebral cortex. See, one thing is very much clear. The afferents come from the cerebral cortex and all the efferents go to the cerebral cortex as well via the thalamus. Functional neuronal circuits or loops. Corpus striatum does not have direct connections to spinal cord. GPI and SNP behaves as a lateral and middle part of single functional unit. Globus pallidus, substantia nigra, behaves as lateral and middle part of a single functional unit. Primary feedback loop or cortex, basal ganglia, motor cortex. You're looking here, cerebral cortex, all parts give fibers to striatum, from the striatum to globus pallidus, substantia nigra. From the substantia nigra, they go into the thalamus, and thalamus they go into the supplementary cortex. Supplementary cortex is a bilateral cortex because it controls the movements which are bilateral in nature. It's climbing like that. Provides negative feedback loop for control motor cortex. You are looking at this transparency or this slide begs your more profound concentration, your deep concentration. You can look here from primary feedback loop or cortex, basal ganglia, motor cortex circuit, cerebral cortex, all parts. They donate impulses to striatum by fibers. Striatum give rise to globus pallidus, internal and external. From there to substantia nigra, then to the thalamus, and then to the supplementary cortex. Caudate loop. It has got two circuits. One is the caudate, other is the putamen. Supplementary motor area and motor sensory area give rise to the messages, fibers, signals, which go to caudate nucleus. And from the caudate nucleus, yes, you have got the caudal part and the caudal part of substantia nigra and globus pallidus internal. Then the fibers from the globus pallidus, they go into the ventrolateral thalamus nuclei, that is the pars ventrolateral oralis. Then from the substantia nigra, caudal part, ventrolateral thalamus nuclei, which is known as the pars medialis. Then from this, the thalamus, the fiber goes to the supplementary motor area and the motor sensory area. From the globus pallidus, caudal part, pars ventrolateris oralis, the fiber go to the supplementary motor area, and from the pars medialis, the ventrolateral thalamus, substantia nigra, they go into the motor sensory area. Cognitive control of motor activity. Well, what is meant by the word cognition? That is the thinking process. ये लफ्ज़ जो है CNS की जान है. Cognitive processes. Cognition mean thinking process, सोचना. Control of a motor activity, control of eye movements. Putamen loop, frontal association area, giving fiber to the putamen nucleus, globus pallidus internal and substantia nigra. From globus pallidus internal, thalamus, ventro-anterior, this is also known as parvocellular, and then substantia nigra, ventro-anterior thalamus, magnocellular. For motor control of body movements, the putamen loop is very much important. Additional feedback loop in direct pathway via subthalamic nuclei. आप इसमें देखें कॉर्टेक्स से चला स्ट्राइटम में आया, स्ट्राइटम से ग्लोबस पैलिडस एक्सटर्नल, वहाँ से सबथैलेमिक न्यूक्लियाई, वहाँ से ग्लोबस पैलिडस इंटरनल और सबस्टेंशिया नाइग्रा, और वहाँ से थैलमस, थैलमस से फिर ये स्ट्राइटम को जाता है और फिर चल जाता है ऊपर सप्लीमेंट्री मोटर कॉर्टेक्स को. ये है एडिशनल फीडबैक लूप इनडायरेक्ट पाथवे वाया सबथैलेमिक न्यूक्लियाई. फिर देखिए कॉर्टेक्स से स्ट्राइटम को आया, स्ट्राइटम से ग्लोबस पैलिडस एक्सटर्नल को, फिर वहाँ से सबथैलेमिक न्यूक्लियस, वहाँ से ग्लोबस पैलिडस इंटरनल, फिर सबस्टेंशिया नाइग्रा, वहाँ से थैलमस. थैलमस के इसके दो पाथवे हैं, इधर बैक टू स्ट्राइटम और सप्लीमेंट्री मोटर कॉर्टेक्स. इनडायरेक्ट पाथवे इन्वॉल्विंग पार्ट्स कंपैक्टा. देखें कॉर्टेक्स इज अ डोनर. जैसे बताया गया है कि इन द केस ऑफ अ कॉर्डेट सर्किट में पूरी की पूरी कॉर्टेक्स एक सी शेप होती है. एवरी लोब टेक पार्ट्स इन डोनेटिंग फाइबर्स. इन द केस ऑफ अ कॉर्डेट सर्किट, कॉर्टेक्स सी give rise to the fibers to striatum, acetylcholine D2 dopamine, acetylcholine D1 dopamine. Globus pallidus internal, substantia nigra, then thalamus, then supplementary motor cortex एंड सब्सटेंशिया नाइग्रा से फाइबर जो हैं वो वापस भी स्ट्राइटम को जाते हैं। यहाँ पे देखें, फिर देखें, इस क्लियर व्यू सेरेब्रल कॉर्टेक्स डोनर फाइबर्स आए स्ट्राइटम को, स्ट्राइटम ग्लूटामेट है, अब स्ट्राइटम से सब्सटेंशिया नाइग्रा, पार्स कम्पैक्टा, और फिर उधर से देखें कि फाइबर आ रहे हैं एक्सटर्नल पैलिडम को, वहाँ से सबथैलेमिक न्यूक्लियस को, फिर वहाँ से इंटरनल पैलिडम को, और फिर ये यहाँ से जाते हैं इंटरनल पैलिडम से थैलेमस को, थैलेमस से सेरेब्रल कॉर्टेक्स। यानी ये कॉर्टेक्स से फाइबर्स जो हैं इन न्यूक्लियाई को कंटेक्ट करने के बाद दोबारा कॉर्टेक्स में ही जाते हैं।